Hi everybody, Matt Bernier, Dan Illman, taking a look at the Wednesday DRF Formulator race of the day. Up at Saratoga, it's race number 9, the $100,000 quick call, 3-year-olds, 5.5 furlongs on the turf course. Let's take a look at the field. As always, head over to the Race of the Day page where you can get your free Formulator past performances and rip through this field with us in post position order. The number 1 is Blind Ambition for those connections. It's Javier and Todd. They're obviously going to get bet in this spot. Most recently ran in the grade 3 carry back on dirt, 7/8 of a mile down at Gulfstream. Didn't pick his feet up. 2 starts back, though. You do have a victory in his only try on turf.
That was a 2-turn race, 7.5 furlongs at Gulfstream Park. He was supposed to win that race. He had a nice trip on the outside. Love what Tyler Gaffalione did. Realized there wasn't a lot of pace. Attacked and brushed to the front after a half mile. Wasn't pleased with a little bit of an early lead change in the stretch, but he's still inexperienced. Now he's cutting back to 5, and if ever a horse is bred for the 5, it's this one, because his damn Starfish Bay was a true turf sprinter. Big Fig 2 starts back. Pletcher and Castellano. Very logical, but I'm interested in your take. From a post-position standpoint, the rail, 5.5 furlongs on the melon turf at Saratoga the last 2 years, and I think it might just simply be an anomaly. 5 for 121.
I don't think it's ideal in here. The only interesting thing is there is other speed in this race, and I don't think this horse can help but be out sprinted. And who knows, maybe he works out ideal sort of pocket trip in this spot. It's also worth noting, third place runner that day, 2 starts back when he won, came back to win next out with an 85 buyer. So that field has come back relatively solid, all things considered. I have a negative stat for Todd Pletcher. It's sort of an odd one. I don't know what you think of it, and I want to know what you think of it. Past 5 years, dirt to turf, sprint, non-graded stakes.
Right.
0 for 14, only 2 of them have hit the board.
Not so good.
Too small a sample size to take anything from?
I think whenever you can take a guy that's 25, 27%, could be the favorite. He's the second choice on Travis's morning line, I believe, at 5 to 2. You're supposed to say, well, that's not good. Maybe there's some more value elsewhere. You know, it's not 0 for 100. It's 0 for 14, and Todd's not known for turf sprinters, but boy, anytime you could try to find a negative stat, whether it's a post position or a trainer stat, maybe you're supposed to take a shot against.
Those of you that listen to Mike Francesa are familiar with the number 2, Mongo Nation. This is a horse for David Fox. Most recently, I'm not holding that race against. That was washed off the turf. My only concern is prior to that, the form is a little bit spotty at best.
I think he's dirtied up a little bit in this spot. 3 back when he won at Gulfstream at the 5 furlongs on the turf. Boy, Louis Size gave him a beautiful ride. Breaking from an outside post, maneuvering down into the pocket. Everything worked out, eased in the 2 path, and then he fired. He ran on that Paradise Creek, and I think 2 things were working against him. 7 furlongs is very, very, very difficult for him. I think he's more of a 5.5 furlong type B. Just look at the horses coming out of that race. I mean, Big Handsome came back to run second in the Manila with an 89. Got beat a hair when 3rd in the Hall of Fame last Friday with a 92 buyer. The 3rd horse, Small Bear, came back to beat older horses on the dirt with a 91. Then ran second in the Curlin with an 87. That's a live race, and Mongo Nation was just simply in too tough. And the last race is a throw-up because it was washed off the turf onto the dirt. This is what Mongo Nation wants. There's probably some pace. He's going to sit from off the pace. He's got a little bit of value. One
of the horses that will absolutely be forwardly placed is the 3, Malro. This horse comes in for Nacho Correas. You get Ricardo Santana, who's had a brilliant sort of start in anyway the first half of the Saratoga meeting. This horse, thus far, 2 for 3. The only loss, ran second. Not going to knock anything about him. The concern or question, anyway, I should say, I have for you is the 2 most recent starts far and away faster than the only turf start, and it's worth noting those last 2, they came on the synthetic surface at Arlington. Is that a concern?
Oh, I think it's always a concern. He's got to show he can do it on the turf. Now, he showed that the speed certainly transferred in the career debut on the turf. We're going to find out 2 things about Malro. We're going to find out, A, is he this good? And B, can he take pace seat? Because those fractions on the synthetic surface are slower than what he's going to see in the quick call. He's going to be forwardly placed. We know Nacho Correas can train a good horse. And listen, if he runs either of his 2 synthetic figures, he's going to be right there at the wire, and he'll be forward.
The Money Monster makes his turf debut for Bill Mott, and here you get Jose Lozcano aboard. Most recently tried the Woody Stevens, overmatched. He was 40 to 1 that day. Not holding that against him. 2 starts back. When the race initially happened, maybe there were some positive thoughts or some high hopes anyway, considering who he beat in there. There was a very heavy favorite that day for Pletcher, Syndergaard, who just never picked his feet up. The problem is that race hasn't come back particularly strong. Do you look at this as a positive that they're trying turf for them?
I'm not sure what I'm looking at it with this. This horse just hasn't gotten fast. They purchased him after his couple of sprints. When you have a 3-year-old that's undefeated, you want to try the Derby Trail. The Tampa Bay Derby said, forget that. They got him back sprinting. He worked it out. Not a fast race. and it was a disaster in the Woody Stevens. If he's ever going to do it in a stakes race, it might be here simply because from a company standpoint he fits. I just wish there was more turf in his pedigree. Majestic Warrior, 9% with first-time turf runners. Not a ton of turf on the bottom.
I'm very intrigued by the number 5 Expedited Vision in here for Phil Schoenthal, a very strong Mid-Atlantic trainer. He ships up. This is a confident move to come up to the Spa. The concern I have is the presence of the 3 Malraux, because you figure there's going to be some real pace signed on early. I believe we have the Timeform US pace projector. Let's take a look at that if we could and see what these guys are thinking, and they agree that the 3 and the 5 are going to go. Expedited Vision broke his maiden on turf in his first career start at 22-1. He comes back on dirt. He goes out to the front. He gets the job done. Couple things. Front wraps came on for the dirt start. That, to me, not an ideal situation. Boy, I understand he's drawn outside, but doesn't he have one way to go?
He has one way to go, but if the 3 Malraux also has one way to go. So we're going to learn a little bit about Expedited Vision. I'm sure they don't want to get into a pace duel, but you know he and Malraux, I think this is a very likely pace projector. This horse has done little wrong. The runner-up he beat in his debut on the turf, came back to score in a maiden special down at Laurel with an 82 Beyer speed figure. This horse has a ton of upside potential. And again, the price might be right because folks at Saratoga, they see Pletcher, they want to bet Pletcher. Phil Schoenthal, Sheldon Russell, they can win races, but folks at Saratoga aren't used to seeing him in stakes races. It'll be a good price.
His most recent start, too, keep in mind, I know it was on dirt. He was 7 lengths clear of the third-place finisher. The third-place finisher came back to win with a 76 Beyer on turf. So keep that in mind. I'm not suggesting that this is an apples-to-apples comparison, but that horse can clearly run a little bit as well. The outside runner is Indy Hill for Wayne Lucas. Ever since this one has gotten onto the turf, going shorter, he's done some decent enough things. The concern is right now he's raced 12 times, and he's not nearly as fast as some of his contemporaries.
But I think he's got a shot in here just like they all have. I couldn't throw out any horse in this race. Indy Hill's first 2 true turf sprints, 5.5 furlongs. He came through 79 Beyers, basically what Expedited Vision has run in his first 2 starts. That last race on July the 22nd, if you look at the Timeform US pace ratings for that race, really hot pace. Salty older horses, Spring to the Sky are in there, Vinci's in there, Partly Mocha's in there. He's only a 3-year-old, and he kind of tried to make a move into that fast pace, and he paid the price. I would kind of take that race with a grain of salt. If you can draw a line through it, now you got a horse 2 for 2 at 5.5 furlongs. And he might work out a good trip, just like that pace projector has him sitting stalking in third.
Selection time for Wednesday's Formulator race of the day.
I want them all.
Spa. You want them all, but you're going to go with the 3 Malraux for Nacho.
I wish I loved him a little bit more. He's 2-1 on Travis's morning line, and I'm just not sure I want to bet him at that price or even at 5-2. But I was impressed enough with the way I saw him finish. I know it says drifted late. I'm still waiting to see drifted late.
I was going to say, I didn't see
He was in
that.
the 2-path in the lane, and he finished it up just fine. We're going to learn a lot about this horse. In Blind Ambition, he might trip out in the pocket.
You know, that was kind of the thing that I was hopeful for. You have the 3 and the 5. If they go, this horse, he can't help but kind of get out sprinted early, in my opinion. Also, keep in mind, if you go back and watch the replay, I know just based on the running line, it looks like he was out there in the lead. There was no pace in that turf race going 2 turns.
That was a great
and
ride.
he just went on with it. I thought Gaffalione did everything he was supposed to do. I'm hopeful the one can kind of work out the pocket tripping behind the speeds. You're going to go 3-1-5-2. I'm going to go 1-5-3 in Wednesday's Formulator race of the day. If you're playing at home, check out DRF Bets. Now, here's the deal. You normally speak this, so all I'm going to say is 10% takeout on up to 10 tracks, including Saratoga, plus the $300 cash bonus. You know the deal. DRF.com/take10 is the address. Scheduled post time for Wednesday's Formulator race of the day, race 9 at the Spa, is 5:40 Eastern. Best of luck.